Guys, this is the 7 steps to closing any fast cash deal. 7 steps to closing any fast cash deal. We talked about there's bird dogging, consulting, wholesaling being one deal, and that's really just you're an Uber driver. You're finding a deal for a cash buyer. You're just driving your car and finding a deal for a cash buyer. There's the other one, which is the assignment of contract, right? And then the third is the double close. So this applies to all 3. You're welcome. Just kidding. Okay. So the very first step, you're drawing boxes like this, okay? Don't try to outthink me, just be track with me here, is we're going to build 5 to 7 cash buyers looking for same kind of property. Okay, that's the very first thing we're going to do. We're going to build 5 to 7 cash buyers looking for the same kind of property. And I've already explained the 10 plus ways to find a cash buyer, right? I mean, there's so many ways to find cash buyers are coming out of our ears. That's not the hard part of this. But what we want to do is we want to get 5 to 7 cash buyers looking for the same kind of property, because if 1 or 2 of them are MIA, and 1 or 2 of them are in the maybe category, we still have 1 or 2 that'll play ball with us. Remember, in life and in real estate, yeses are great, nos are fine, it's the maybes that'll kill you, okay? So the very first thing we're gonna do, I'm lost, I don't know what to do, I'm gonna go meet with realtors. No. Oh, I'm gonna just go research properties online. No. The very first step is we're gonna build 5 to 7 cash buyers looking for the same kind of property. And then we'll draw a dotted line like this to a spreadsheet, which we'll call the buyer's list. The buyer's list. Now, for those of you who don't know how to use a spreadsheet, that's fine. Just buy a college kid a pizza and he or she will do it for you for free, okay? But the buyer's list is going to include, the very first column is the contact information to the cash buyer. So their email address, their cell phone, their contact information. The next is the specs of what do they want. The specs of what do they want. Do they want vacant land? Do they want a house to flip? Do they want an apartment? What do they want? We need to know what they want. We also need to know the zip code that they want to buy in. Not the zip code they live in, but the zip code they want to buy in. And it's amazing, you'll start talking to buyers, you get really excited about that. You'll ask a buyer, what do you want? And then the buyer will say, well, send me a deal in LA. LA's enormous, right? So you'll send them a deal in the valley. A week will go by and they'll say, you know, the valley's a little too hot. So another week goes by and you send them a deal in Venice. Oh, no, Venice, Google's moved it to Venice, so it can't be in Venice, right? And then this ping pong goes back and forth, and all you have to do is ask your cash buyer, what's the zip code you want to buy in, not the zip code you live in. I'm saving you at least 3 weeks of ping pong time, as I call it, okay? We also need to know the profit that the buyer wants to make. So obviously you're finding a deal for the buyer. What does the buyer want? And you're like, well, what about me? What about my profit? Well, see, here's the thing. You're not going to make profit until you deliver profit for your buyer. So we need to know what is the profit expectation of our buyer. We also need to know their exit strategy, the buyer's exit strategy, and all that means is, what is the buyer planning to do with the property? Are they going to flip it? Are they going to rent it out? What are they planning to do with it? We also need to know their hot buttons, and all that means is, what do they really, really like, and what do they really, really dislike? They may say, don't put me in the inner city, because that's too rough. Or put me in the inner city because I may get a better deal. It's just a hot button that we need to know from our buyers. And then finally, next steps. And I want you to double star next steps. And what that means is now that you got all this great information from your buyer, what's the plan? What's the game plan? What's the plan of action? Well, you're obviously going to go get the deal, and then you're going to set an appointment with your buyer to reloop with them to set up a conversation to move the deal along. It's like pipeline management, as we call it. Okay? So guys, this is the very first step in closing any fast cash deal. You got to start with your buyers, and this is exactly what we need to know. Once we have that, then we go to step 2. And step 2 is you're going to email 15 realtors. You're going to email 15 realtors. And here's the exact word-for-word script that you're going to use. Hi, Bob. By the way, don't call him Bob if his name is Peter. And don't just say hi, comma, because that's screaming that you're sending out a mass email. Would it kill you to personalize the email? Just say hi, Bob, right? I am a cash buyer with access to blank. And the blank will be somewhere in the specs from your buyer, because your buyer has told you what their budget is, what kind of profit they're looking for. So in other words, we need to know in the specs the budget of the buyer. And that's what we have access to, because that's what your buyer is planning to spend. I am looking for the following off-market property, colon, you know, the double dot thing. By the way, off-market is anything that's not on the market. Anything that is not actively, publicly listed. Realtors sometimes call off-market properties pocket listings, okay? And then you'll put bullets. By the way, one thing I learned in corporate America is if you put bullets in your emails, they'll get read. The emails will get read. And then bullets get read before anything else in the email. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so the first is specs, the specs of your buyer, along with any hot buttons they may have. The second bullet is zip code. Not the zip code they live in, but the zip code they want to buy in. Okay? And then finally, the profit. Now here's where you make your profit. So, in other words, if your buyer up here says, I want to make 50 grand off the deal, you may, in the email to the realtor, say, I'm looking for a profit of 80 grand to add your profit into the mix. So it's the buyer's profit plus your profit is that total profit number here. Okay? Then we're going to say, please email me by Thursday. Regards, your name. Not your LLC, but your actual name. Now, my favorite student question is, well, what happens if you're emailing them on a Thursday? Well, it turns out that the following week also gets to have a Thursday. Well, what if you're emailing them on a Wednesday? It's still Thursday. I'm giving you an actionable day so the realtor can come back to you. Okay? So, we've asked that. Now, after we've emailed 15 realtors, the odds are 1 or 2 of them are going to come back to you with the deal.